everyone. I think we're live. Welcome to Real Guitar Success. I'm Tomas Michaud, in case you're new here. And I'm going to do my best to answer all your guitar learning questions today. I'm going to start with pre-submitted questions, and feel free at any time to add your questions to the chat. After I answer the pre-submitted questions, I'll go to the chat. If you could start with the word question, there's a lot of comments and it takes me a while to sort out otherwise. So I'll be looking for the word question to get right to the question. And as always, at the end of this session, I'll do a drawing for those who are members of Real Guitar Success and have completed the practice sessions for the month of August. So I'll talk more about that at the end of the session. Let's start with the first question. And we've got some good ones. And I'm sure we'll have some more good ones. Let's see. Got to get to the beginning here. There we go. The very first question. Okay, Walworth, this is an easy one. Walworth is asking, when are you going to start the Spanish guitar course? So this is a course I've been working hard on, and it's just about done. I've set a launch date for September 19th, and I'm pretty confident that that's going to be accurate. There's still a little bit left work to do, but I've allowed a little cushion. So we're on for September 19th. And I'll be sending out emails, of course, and notices and how you can get joined. And if you are, I've decided, by the way, if you are already a member of Real Guitar Success, you will automatically get access to this new course. And it's quite a course, actually. I've got so far 60, 70 videos and hours and hours and hours of work put into this. So I'm hoping everyone will at least give it a shot. Now, I know it's called Spanish guitar, and I'm definitely in the Spanish guitar genre in this course, but I've included lots of tips about learning guitar in general to help you become, to feel successful and to get the most out of your practice time and the effort that you put in. So even if you're only mildly interested in Spanish guitar, I encourage you to at least go through the courses and give it a shot and see how you like it. It's including finger picking, the Spanish guitar strumming, and again, a lot of advice on playing guitar. No bar chords. I deliberately avoided bar chords in this course, but I've got some interesting chords in there. The next question, is there a time when doing online courses from a live instructor are no longer necessary? This is from Rod. And you only need to practice what you've already learned, taught over the years. Interesting question. I would say in the beginning, lessons are most valuable because not only are you learning the information that you need more quickly from lessons and trying to figure it out on your own, or even from just looking at individual courses, individual lessons like on YouTube or a book or something, because not only are you learning information, but you're learning kind of a way of think or seeing how to play guitar. And that's the problem with one-off lessons, is they don't really cover that. They might cover a specific technique or a song or something like that, but it doesn't really give you the overall idea of how this works. And that comes from kind of methodical step-by-step program in the beginning. Now, at the same time, to really breach, it's sort of like a rocket going out of the atmosphere. First, you need a certain amount of energy and a technique to get out of the atmosphere. But once you get out of the atmosphere, things change a little bit. Of course, you got less pull back to earth, but you also have a little more difficulty navigating. Later on, as you play, and there's no one hard space for this, as you keep going, you want to spend more time practicing the things that you know that you need to learn and work on, and a little less time keep gathering new information, because otherwise the new stuff keeps pushing out the old stuff that you haven't completely absorbed or integrated into your playing. So there's never a time where you don't need lessons. I will say right now I'm actually taking guitar lessons and I'm loving it. I have a teacher that's teaching me some of the finer art of improvising, and boy, I'm getting really inspired to practice and play the new ideas and things that I've been working on. But at the same time, I'm very careful to practice the things that I know that I already have learned, but I need to keep working on and get better at. So it's not all just new stuff. I don't want to discard or neglect the stuff that I know I need to work on and get better at, particularly around some techniques and things that I use in my compositions. So no, there's never a time, but it does shift as you progress to more practicing on things that you already have learned and less to keep getting new information. But at the same time, there's always a new perspective, some new stuff that a teacher can teach you, or an online course that you can add to your playing, that you can inspire you, that can extend what you already know and make more sense out of it. There's always more opportunity. Good question, Rod. Next is Christine. I'm just starting to get the beginning of a feel of how to strum. Yes. Yes, that's a very real place to be when you're learning. First, it's very mechanical and you're kind of having to think about it. And at some point, it just starts flowing. And she says she's just starting to get it without getting caught up in the strings. I'm not sure why this has been hard, except watching your videos, I'd say I must have a stiff wrist and maybe my elbow and forearm. Any suggestions, any advice other than simply get loose? So first of all, Christine, this is very common. And I remember that place to this day, even though it was many years ago. I remember thinking, probably about a year in, I was sitting around a campfire, and up to that point, strumming has always seemed difficult. It always seemed like my strumming was mechanical and thought out and rough compared to what I saw people doing, where they didn't even have to think about it. It just looked easy and flowed and was smooth. And, maybe I even assumed that somehow I would never quite get to that place. That was just a natural ability that they had. But I remember sitting around a campfire with friends, and they wanted me to play songs so that we could all sing them. And they were calling out names of songs, and I was fumbling with chords, and sometimes I knew the song, so I wasn't fumbling. But I remember looking down as I was playing one song that I knew, and my hand was just going without thinking about it. It was smooth and flowing, and I had just kind of reached that culmination point of all the practicing I'd done up to that point, and it just clicked in. That will happen for you. And it's not a straight line. Again, it's not like a little better, You'll see some of that, but it's more like, and then all of a sudden, strumming's not an issue anymore. It's learning other things. You're not alone, and as far as I can tell, everybody struggles with that in the beginning. It's an interesting thing, strumming, because if you think about it, you cannot strum smooth. But if you don't think about it, you can't get, in the beginning, you can't get the motions correct. So it's a balance point, and it's little by little, you let go of the thinking and let the hand just go. Yes, one thing I have students do when I've taught in person is I'd have them stop and just shake out their hand, because they inevitably get stiff. And you're right, the wrist gets stiff when from your head, from frustration or trying to think about how to do it right. Sometimes just shake out your hand, let go, and then try to imagine your hand like you have some water in your fingers and you're shaking it off. You know that feeling? You just kind of have to whip it off, and you have to relax your muscles, but at the same time use your arm to let it flick, and that will get you a feeling when you're strumming. It won't just click in all of a sudden. You got it probably, but if you keep doing that, after a while, the habit will just become natural and you don't have to think about it. You won't strum smooth and sounding like a professional guitar player until you can not have to think about it. But it's a process. It's not a switch you just make happen. Practice is the best thing you can do, but stop and relax once in a while and try that flick thing. This is from Robin. I've been working on the beginner's journey for about 10 months so far. It's terrific. I am a short woman, and my local teacher suggested a Polar guitar, which has been great. A perfect size for me. Yes, good suggestion. Polar guitar is a steel string guitar, but slightly smaller body. Actually, more the size of this flamenco guitar. My question is about holding the guitar. I have found it more natural to rest it on my left leg instead of my right. Is this okay, or should I try to get into the habit of holding it in the typical way on the right leg? Okay. Well, first of all, let me tell you this: there is not the right way to hold your guitar. I am a little surprised it's natural for you on the left leg. That generally is a more difficult way to hold it. But let me suggest there are 3 ways to hold your guitar that seem to work well for people. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see my leg. The right leg is the most natural, and often people cross their leg, which I often play this way. It provides just a little lift. I often also put my left foot, which you can't see, on something to raise it up slightly, because I want the guitar even slightly higher. It's actually easier on my back. The traditional classical way is not to cross your legs, have the guitar on the right leg, but put your right foot on a stool. There are footstools made for this, but I'm just actually using one of those hardware stools that you use or whatever you call them, the step stools, that's it. And it's the foot high, and I stick it under my right leg and lift my right leg. This is how I record videos, because I don't want, crossing my leg gets too much of my leg in the video. And this is actually pretty comfortable, and especially when I'm playing classical guitar, it seems to make the guitar a little sturdier. Yeah, it just feels like it's really solid. So, yeah, strumming works good too. So, you're doing this. Now, I had to put my left leg on a footstool because it's too low like this. And it's going to hurt my back. I'm going to lean forward. This is a traditional classical guitar position, and flamenco guitar players use it too. It's considered a very stable position, so it's not wrong, obviously. It's just for most folk people, it's not that comfortable. If it's comfortable for you, I wouldn't worry about it. But put your left leg on a stool. You don't want to be like this, have your guitar low, and have to kind of lean over to play. And it's going to get your back. I underestimated that when I was younger. It did. And I'm still working on that. So left leg, guitar here, fine position. Strong, really solid. I like this. Again, for classical guitar, the left hand's a little more out here. Yeah, feels really solid. Let's go on. I think I did that okay, but feel free, Robin, if you have any other questions, if you're on the call, feel free to add in the chat, and I will be glad to talk more about it. I'm doing the bar chord course currently. This is Kevin. Just wondering if the first and second strings are to be muted when playing power chords, or is that something that varies? Power chords. First and second string. Got it. So power chords are 2 or 3 note chords. And I teach, they're in and of themselves are a useful chord, but I teach them as a stepping stone to playing bar chords. Because by playing the power chord, you learn the basic finger position, plus you learn how to get around, because the name of the power chord is in the same place as the bar chord. So I'm playing a 3-note power chord. You can actually play a 2-note power chord as well, but let's go with the 3-note. And what I'm doing is my right finger is slightly touching the first and second string, because no, they're not a part of the chord. They won't work. But I'm also, when I hit the string, I'll use a pick to make it more obvious. When I hit the string, I'm not going straight down like that. I'm slightly coming out. So I'm hitting the first 3 strings. If I hit that 4th string, it's deaded, it's muted with my pinky because I've angled it slightly down. If I don't angle it down, it'll ring. I don't want that. See, if I go like this, you don't hear much of those high strings anyway, so it's a combination. But I'm angling slightly down, so they're muted. Power chord. By the way, same thing when you're doing the 5th string power chord. Still just slightly angling it down. There's less strings there to hit. I don't want that 6th string either. But see, I'm touching it slightly with my first finger. So even if I hit it, it's not going to sound. These seem complicated because you're paying attention to a lot of little things. But like anything else, they just become a habit. I don't think mute. My finger just goes there. It's just a habit, and you'll get there too. Just keep doing it. And it will happen along the way as you're learning other bar chords. You don't want to just stay on power chords till everything mutes perfectly. That's not a high priority at this point. But a good question. Good to keep in mind. Okay, let's go on to the chat and see what great questions we got there. A lot of people. Let's see. Hopefully I can sort out which ones are questions. Hey there. Dan, Gerald, Tim, welcome. Bobby. Oh, yes, California. We're in the same time zone. And oh, Kevin's here. Good. Terry Walker Davies. Hi. I'm making sure I'm not missing any questions. That's why I'm going slow here. Q, that works. Have been considering purchasing your course. I am still a beginner and am currently focused on learning music theory. Does your course include music theory? Yes. My suggestion would be not to just do music theory, but to learn practical application and learn the theory along the way as you learn practical application. And my course will do just that. I integrate the music theory along with stuff that you're actually doing. Because you don't want to get to a place where your brain can think out things, but your fingers can't do it. That's both frustrating and debilitating. And I'll have to say, college did that a little bit to me. We spent so much time talking and analyzing music. When I got out of college, I felt like I was stunted in terms of being able to actually play and do the things that I could imagine in my head. I repaired that by lots of practice and playing with other people. But I would have done it differently if I'd started over. College theory, good. Constant theory classes in college. But I would have spent more time playing and using it and doing it, and I'll make sure and do that with my students. Now, I do have, by the way, a separate theory course integrated into there, and if you want, you can go there. But I'd really recommend, especially if you're in the beginning, go through the beginner's journey first, step by step, as fast as you can, but no faster than you can actually do it and feel like you can keep up. And then, if you feel like you'd like more theory later, great. Go for the theory course. You'll see after the beginner's journey, there's another course called bar chord course. I saved that to after you get kind of the basics with the open chords. And there's more theory in there, and some good theory, by the way. Really good theory, because I can apply it directly to how you're working with bar chords and how the guitar neck works. Again, I think it's much better than just doing theory and then trying to apply it on the guitar. I will say this. Adults, all of us, and I include myself, we are better at using our intellect than generally doing stuff that requires a body-mind using the body and mind, something that uses the body and mind together, like dancing, music, and that's a generalization. Obviously, everybody's not the same. But I say that in general because the way our life has been, school, work, the intellect has been rewarded. That's how we've get by, unless you're a dance instructor, of course, or you're a professional dancer or something like that. But generally speaking, in the working world, we have to use our intellect. And so we're not rewarded for using things that take that body-mind connection. And like someone said, a famous psychologist, if you're good with a hammer, you start thinking everything's a nail. And unfortunately, that's generally what I find with adult students is they try to approach it from an intellectual point of view, and it's not the best tool for the job. In this case, it usually works better to do it and figure out why it works along the way. So the opposite way. The same with dance, same with art, same with martial arts, by the way, which I have experience in. It really works better to do it and let the theory trail, the intellect trail a little bit behind the actual doing. Now, it helps to have some theory to kind of apply to what you're doing, but not in place of it, and certainly not overshadowing the doing and practicing and applying. Hope that helps you. Next. I'm looking for question, the word question, or Q works too. Great comments, but I don't see any more questions. Oh, I got one. Question. Thanks, Dan. Do we need a Spanish guitar to take the Spanish guitar course or a classical guitar? What do you recommend? Oh, great question. And I actually integrate that a little bit into the first few lessons of the course, because that's a question that I've had often from students who are learning to play Spanish guitar. So I'm going to talk about 3 types of guitars. I'm going to eliminate electric guitar for right now. That's probably not the right guitar. It's not impossible, but let's just say I'm not going to go there. It's not an issue. Most people wouldn't try to learn Spanish guitar with electric guitar unless you wanted to apply it to your electric guitar playing, which is fine. It's the steel string acoustic guitar, and then you have the nylon, which is the flamenco and the classical guitar. Start with the flamenco and classical. Very little difference. Classical guitar will work fine. You probably wouldn't notice the difference at this level. If you really get into Spanish guitar, at some point you may want a flamenco guitar. The differences are very subtle. The Spanish guitar tends to accentuate the higher frequencies. So the strings are a little lower, the woods are a little lighter, the bracing's a little different, the body itself is a little thinner, and the strings are closer. They tend to rattle. But for flamenco guitar, that's normal. You probably can't tell. That's a pretty clear chord. A lot of times the single notes, you'll hear a little bit of a buzz, but in flamenco guitar, that's an accepted sound. Classical guitar, not so much. So the strings will be a little bit higher, maybe a touch harder to play, but you can fudge with the action. I actually, on my other flamenco guitar, I have more of the action of a classical, so it's kind of in between. Either one's perfect. There are some great, fairly affordable classical or flamenco guitars. By the way, I think Yamaha makes very good student guitars. Not my favorite for the high end, but for student guitars, a good bang for your buck. And they make a fairly affordable flamenco as well. But their beginning classical guitars are just fine for this. And the whole reason I'm saying this, because they have the nylon strings, and a lot of the techniques are going to make more sense on nylon strings. You can do them on the steel string. Now the acoustic guitar I'm going to talk about. You can do the course on the steel strings. The problem I have with my steel string guitar when I try and do Spanish techniques is I'm using my fingers on the right hand a lot, and I have nails to produce a sound. That's with nail and flesh. This is just flesh. There. It's kind of muted. Nail and flesh. If I do that on a steel string guitar, it's going to break my nail. It's going to chip it off, and that kind of puts a damper on my practice. I don't want to do that. So in the beginning, you're probably not going to worry about nails. I wouldn't recommend it, actually. It's not the high priority. Again, if you really get into it, I'll make a whole lesson on how to file your nails and do them right. It's just not where to put your time and energy in the beginning stages. So I wouldn't worry about that. That said, a steel string will work, it won't give you the same sound as the nylon string, but it works, and it works fine. And if you like that steel string sound and you want to do the Spanish strings on steel string, perfectly fine. You could put a type of string on your steel string called silk and steel. They're softer than regular steel strings, and they're made for steel string guitars. They're easier to press down. That's why a lot of people like them. But it would also have more of that nylon string sound. Not quite the same, but in between. That's a possibility too. Don't want to go out and buy a nylon string guitar? Put some silk and steel on your steel string. It'll be easier to play. Go through the chorus. Decide if you want to leave them on or put your steel strings back. That will work fine. Thanks for asking, Dan. The lady who creates says, my video on the looper was really helpful. I think that's a great practice technique. Really fun. It's really, it kind of gave me some extra practice because I'm having so much fun. I forget about the time. Question. I'm 67 and on the beginner's journey. My main issue is getting my fingers to change chords fast enough. Do you have any tips apart from lots of practice? Again, this is one of the most common things, Terry, with students. You're definitely not alone. Changing chords, especially for people who are self-taught, because what happens is they learn, I was one of those, learned lots of chords, but never took the time to really get the chord not just in the right place, but sounding good and easy to finger. So I kept adding more complexity without actually getting the foundation right, and I couldn't change between chords accurately. So what I would recommend, Terry, is this is a good place where the head tends to not be the best place to go. The intellect is not the best place for this. It's a body-mind connection. You got to get to where your fingers just go where they're going without thinking about it, because you're paying attention to the music and the rhythm, not which finger to put where. Back up, start with a few chords, and just practice getting from D to A, and getting that in time with a metronome slow. And I'm going to say you probably got that. Let's just say I'm really starting basic. You probably got that. That was A7 by really, that's one of the easiest changes because you're going from D to A7. And all you do is you take off the third finger and move the two fingers over. Not a lot of changing to do. So now, next step, add the G chord. And you can do any G, even a two-finger G without the high if you want. But a lot of students are using the four-finger G because your fingers, the third finger stays in the same place. You put the pinky down and the other two fingers just move over. Now, practice slowly with metronome, 2 strums each. If you hesitate, you're not ready to go on. Get it to where you can fairly consistently, 80% of the time, just make that change. And I know this feels like it's frustrating to go back to beginning stuff, but it pays off many times. Or I am so glad at many points in my career, went back and just worked on some of the basics, and they made everything I was playing after that sound better. This is a basic technique. Strum. And get right on the beat. Then speed up your metronome. Add that A7. Get to where you can do that. Then add a fourth chord. And maybe try it in a different key. Let's say E, B7. Same thing, start with just 2 chords. Every once in a while go back to this and see if you can still do that. And change smoothly. Apply it with the play-along tracks that are in the beginner's journey. Now you have to change on time because I'm not going to slow down for you. You can find everything I'm showing you in the beginner's journey, and you just have to find from where you're at. That might mean going back and reviewing some things. There is a course, if you want to go into the Real Guitar University, there's a course called, let me see exactly what it's called. We'll make this. I think it's called a switching chord game. No, the chord switching game. That's it. The chord switching game. Go to the Real Guitar University and find the chord switching game. That will give you a template to do exactly what I was just showing you. And I'll actually guide you in the game. I have a beat going and the music on and I'll start from a couple of chords. Try that. Try that with the game in the course, but then take that concept and apply it to whatever chords you need to work on. If you know a dozen chords, back it up. Go back and get the first few chords smooth and keep adding back on. You'll be glad you did, really. You'll be thanking me I told you this, but you'll have to do it first. It's not something you can think about and say, yeah, it's a good idea. It's like going back and watching your feet as you walk to get your feet on the ground properly. And I've had to do that with recently some shoulder stuff because I'm having this what do you call it, the rotator cuff tear. I hope you never have to deal with that, but I'm sure some of you have to go back and just do very simple basic exercises and start expanding on them, stuff that I was in the gym lifting weights. This is like beginner stuff, going back to the beginning again. This is life, always going back to the white belt. I just read a story recently about a famous martial artist who he was the head of super black belt, many students, and then when he was old and ready to pass away, he has to be put his white belt on because he wants to pass away as a beginner. He's saying, I'm a beginner again. I'm going to go to the next realm as a beginner. Let's see. Question. When I strum with a pick, I tend to fan out my middle, ring, and fourth finger. Should I focus on keeping those fingers tucked? So I assume you mean on the right hand. Let me see what that looks like. I don't see a problem with that. I do keep my fingers tucked in, but it doesn't seem to be a problem if I let my fingers out. I mean, unless you're finding it's a problem somewhere. If it does, let me know, and I'll try and analyze it from that point of view. But just having your fingers out doesn't seem to hinder my strumming. Good. Next, another question. It looks like it looks like I've caught all the questions for now. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions. Oh no, there was one hiding here, or maybe it just got added. I've found practicing chords in specific keys to be a great practice tool. Eventually, all the chords will incorporate themselves into your practice. So I will second this. I didn't say that, but that's what I was doing. I was starting with D and practicing the three most common chords in the key of D, which are the 1, 4, 5, and I got that by going D, E, F, G, 4, and 5, A. A 7 or A, either one. You can make the 5 chord a 7 and it works just as good, sometimes better. So, and then when I went to E, I picked the 5 chord in the key of E to B7. And to fill that out, the 4 chord is A. So I practice the key of... There are 5 keys that I recommend practicing, starting, and in the course I start with the keys that you're most commonly going to use, and then I start expanding. They're C, A, G, E, D. They spell the word cage. The C key of C, A, the key of G, E, and the key of D, because these are the common open chords in the keys. And so, most folk style guitar players have been sticking to those keys. When you start getting the flat and sharp keys, you have to do bar chords, and you have to play chords that are less easy on the guitar. And in the case of the guitar, you can always put a capo on, so you can play everything in those keys, but you need a little higher. Just put a capo on the first fret. Now the whole thing's a half step higher. The second fret, the whole thing's one whole step higher for singing purposes. C, A, G, E, D. Start with, in the beginner's journey, I start with, I believe, the key of D. But whatever key I start with, there's no absolute right or wrong there. Go with it, keep and build up. I'm getting advice on the rotator cuff. Thank you, Michael. Yes. And by the way, I am improving and I'm doing my exercises religiously. It's hard to find time in the day, but it's better than waking up in the middle of the night in pain. Okay, looks like I got all the questions for now. Feel free to add another question. I'll do the drawing, and I'll look back and see if somebody added a question that I can answer before I leave for today. And for the drawing, I'll get my other hat, my beige hat. And these, again, are people who have completed the 20 practice sessions for the month of August in the Real Guitar Success practice plan, or the Guitar Gym, I also call it, just to be confusing. Guitar Gym has the practice plans. So practice plans are every day of the week, you have a practice plan. The whole thing is to just play for 10 minutes, the practice plan, check it off, you did it. You can save it if you want, you like it, you think this is good for you, and come back to it later. If it's too hard or you're just not interested, just move on to the next one. So that way you collect a set of favorites, we call them. They're bookmark lessons that you can always go back to and work on some more that you've chosen, that are chosen by you to work on, that you either like or fit your level. So this is a way to get a variety of different lessons and self-selected, as opposed to the step-by-step course where you just follow. And there's all of that in the Real Guitar Success also. So that said, we've got a drawing, just to make it fun. I do a drawing at the end of the month for a $50 Amazon gift card. And the winner today is Sharon. Sharon, you have won the Amazon gift card. Congratulations. And congratulations to all of you who completed the course. You're that much better. And you've your commitments to yourself as well. Good job. So let me look. Any last minute questions? Oh, yes. I'm getting some advice to don't forget the minor keys. Yes. Looks like Bob is asking, how can I can't get my thumb behind the fretboard? How do you solve that? So I guess I'm going to assume this is what you mean, getting your thumb back there. So it's hard to say, Bob, in the sense that I don't know what your problem is. Are you cranking your thumb up too much? I don't know. I can't really say without looking at your hand. I will say that this position is the preferred position, especially if you're starting out, because once you get this habit, it's not hard, and it gives you more flexibility. See, especially when you go to bar chords, you need your thumb back there. And a lot of guitar players, especially folk guitar players, play with their thumb over like this, and they rest the guitar in the neck. So this is not wrong. Some great guitar players play this way. So God forbid I would say they're wrong and I'm right. It's just they're used to it, and they've, I wouldn't try and change them either, or anybody who's been doing this for a while. But if you're starting out, you get a little more benefit from the thumb behind. I call this the classical technique because it was taught to me in the classical guitar lessons. And a lot of jazz guitar players play this way too, because they're doing a lot of complicated things. They need the flexibility. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't absolutely have to have your thumb behind the neck. And if that's really just not working for you, you can try doing this way. If you want to get your thumb behind the neck, I would just need to know more about what the issue is and see if I could suggest some exercises or something to fix that. And just to be clear, in case you're not clear on the technique, the thumb is basically somewhere around the middle of the neck. My thumb tends to go up a little bit. That's all fine. This is not the best place for it, like this. This gives you more flexibility to move. You don't want to crink your knuckle. You want to basically flatten out and have the pad of your thumb on the back of the neck. That would stop. That would make it hard and hurt after a while. Okay. So hopefully there was something in there that helped. Otherwise, I'll look forward to some more explanation. Yes, Michael's saying some people use the thumb on top to mute a string. And I actually use that technique once in a while. I'll come over, or actually to even press a string. I make a D chord this way occasionally. See, I'm pressing the F sharp note, that's F sharp on the low E string. But very seldom. I prefer to keep it this way so I don't have to move my whole hand around. But I've seen a lot of this chord. Pete Thompson, I was working on Pinball Wizard, he plays his bar chords this way. See, he's playing the low string of the bar chord instead of going like this. And for Pinball Wizards, this actually works better. It's hard for me because I'm not used to it. But it makes the sound that he's making, it makes it more authentic. Okay, so we're going to end for today. Thank you all for being here. It's really been a pleasure. I hope to see you again. We'll do this again the first Thursday of every month. I'll be back next month. And feel free to submit your questions ahead of time if you'd like. I often do, if it's something I don't know a lot about, I'll do a little research and add it. I kind of like that. It's kind of fun. But at the same time, I'm happy to answer the questions that come in the quiz. And that's kind of exciting too, kind of on the fly. If you would like to check out my Real Guitar Success program, I have a 14-day free trial. You can try it out, no charge, no effort. I just ask if you sign up for the 14 days, you actually go in there and do something. Don't just sign up and then forget about it. That's just a waste of your time. And, I'm not doing any good that way. But I would love to have you as a student if it fits your needs. Spanish guitar course coming out September 19th. Those who are a member already of Real Guitar Success, you're in. Don't worry about it. I'll make an announcement so you know, and I'll put it on the dashboard so you can see that it's available. It's going to be good. And if you're not a member yet, now's a great time. There's a lot more than just the Spanish guitar course. So you'll have access to practice sessions. You'll have access to beginning lessons, step-by-step, bar chord lessons that are really thought out, meticulous, and really broke it down to small pieces to make it easy. So there's a lot there. And of course, I'm there to answer questions as well as a community that's really responsive. Love to have you. Bye for now. Hope to see you, if not in Real Guitar Success, at least next month at the Real Guitar Success Live. Bye.